Hello, and thank you for joining us today. Franchising a business is a great way to be in business for yourself, but not necessarily by yourself. This video will give some basic information about the wonderful opportunities that exist in the world of franchising. It'll also explain the differences that there are between a franchise and an independent business that you might start up by yourself. So, let's get started. A franchise is a business which basically distributes products and services. It is a method that a company uses to rapidly expand sales while defining how these sales are to be made. The person or company who owns the initial idea or product is called the franchisor, and the individual who buys the business concept is called the franchisee. The nice thing about this type of arrangement is that the business concept is usually a proven one, so the franchisee knows what will work. Yet, he or she has the help from the franchisor when questions arise during the operating of the business. Franchise concepts fit into one of three categories. A product franchise is a franchise in which the franchisor gives the franchisee the exclusive right to sell the products of the company. An auto dealership is a good example of this type of franchise. The second type is called the licensed franchise, in which case you may be a Coca-Cola bottler. The last type, which is the fastest growing type, gives the franchisee the ability to duplicate a business format. An example of this kind of concept is a Subway or a McDonald's. There exist many franchise types and investment levels with this kind of concept. Now, before we go any further, as with any business, whether it's a franchise or an independent type of endeavor, it's always wise to look at the advantages and limitations that come with the business model. Usually, the advantages that we are interested in are usually the same. Money, being the boss, having flexibility, making the rules, but the limitations may differ from model to model. These differences will be what eventually determine which direction we take. And as always, if possible, it's a good idea to seek legal and accounting advice in all matters. Let me give you an example. Even though a lot of these franchise business models are worked out for you and help you from making mistakes and wasting time that comes with an independent business, one limitation to this is that the franchise business model has to be followed as the franchisor has it laid out. This can be for many reasons, but mainly the franchisor is trying to build a brand, and if every franchisee was allowed to operate the franchise the way he or she thought best, there would be no consistency, and the consumer wouldn't really associate anything to the brand. So, asking questions of the franchisor is imperative to understanding the brand and what is expected. Listed on this slide and the next are some of the advantages and limitations that come with owning a franchise. Basically, you have the advantage of owning a business by yourself, and many of the particulars of running the franchise are taken care of for you. Things like training for you and sometimes for your associates, site selection, advertising, ongoing support, having an established business product or service. They're all figured out for you. What you have to remember is that many of these have been thoroughly researched to determine what is best for the continued growth of the franchise. Remember, the growth of the franchise brand is important to the franchisor, so you can be sure that they believe they have everything figured out for the prospective franchisees. As with anything, there are always limitations to any business, and that's no different for a franchise. With franchising, you are not completely independent and must adhere to the franchisor's guidelines. Remember, the franchisor's goal is to grow the brand and offer the consumer consistency from location to location. Along with this, there is an initial franchise fee, an ongoing royalty, and possibly an ongoing advertising fee. But these costs come in various forms and take on many different labels with any business ownership. So franchising is no different. I have not known a business that comes free for an individual. So here's an example. Utilizing only certain vendors may be specified by the franchisor, and to some this may seem limiting. But on the flip side, this sometimes entitles the franchisee to better pricing when it comes to buying their products, ingredients, and so forth. In many of the cases, better buying power is negotiated with vendors, which can't be negotiated if a franchisee was to go out and select his or her own vendor. Product consistency must also be considered. Certain quality levels are determined, and the franchisor doesn't want the end product or service, and hence the brand, associated with varying degrees of quality. There are many reasons for owning as well as not owning a franchise, and one will need to determine what goals they're trying to achieve by being in business for themselves. This is apart from deciding if they want to go into business for themselves or if they can achieve their goals by working for someone else. Sometimes asking someone whom is trusted is helpful with deciding these life-changing moments. But as one who has been in several businesses for myself, I can tell you there is a certain freedom that comes with business ownership that can't be realized working for somebody else. When deciding what kind of business you should go into, there are many factors which should be considered. Some are shown here for reference. One of the most credible things about franchising is that it is a regulated business. The Federal Trade Commission as well as individual state agencies regulate where a franchise may be located as well as certain operating parameters. These are good because the franchisee gets a certain level of protection, while also franchising makes the industry a very credible one to be involved in. A registration state is one that simply requires a franchise not only to be registered in its own state, but also requires that it is approved by any other state it's trying to get into. A franchise may not open its business nor even advertise in a registration state until it is approved by that state. A non-registration state is one that only requires a franchise to be registered in that state it's based in. As of this writing, there are only 12 registration states. The rest are non-registration states. The 12 registration states are California, Hawaii, Indiana, Maryland, Michigan, Minnesota, New York, North Dakota, Rhode Island, Virginia, Washington, and Wisconsin. Any time is a good time to own a franchise. As soon as you can meet the certain requirements associated with a franchise, and you get approved by the franchisor, you can be in business by yourself. Of course, owning any business should be approached with the fiscal care associated with it, but also a certain consideration should be done for your own personal circumstances. It doesn't do a franchisor or a franchisee any good if the franchisee isn't able to support himself or herself during the franchise startup phase. However, if all conditions can be met, there are many franchises available today in many different fields and for many different prices. The costs associated with a franchise, as said earlier, can vary, but all are broken down into three main ones. First, a franchise fee, which is the cost for the right to buy into owning the franchise. This has to be available liquid cash that you have and gives you the right to be a particular franchise owner. Second, a cash amount, which includes the franchise fee, but it might also include any expenses you have opening a franchise. This also has to be liquid. The last cost is the total amount, which includes the franchise fee, cash amount, and any additional monies that might be needed for additional expenses. Any expense above the franchise fee and cash amount may be borrowed. Sometimes the total amount is the same as the cash amount and no further cash requirements are needed. And other times, there are well-defined individual amounts for each of the three. The bottom line, as said before, I don't know any business that doesn't require some sort of investment level, and that is usually associated with the earnings potential. Franchising isn't the best option for everyone, but it certainly has its perks for the right person. Here are some statistics about franchising. Basically, franchising is a worldwide model, which carries with it many ground rules to follow. Of course, the advice of a trusted person, as well as an accountant and lawyer, will aid anyone in deciding if franchising is right for them. I hope this short video was helpful. For more information, feel free to visit www.franchisingpossibilities.com. After reviewing the website, call me for a free, no-obligation consultation. We'll discuss your goals, your interests, and qualifications. Thank you.